All right, deaths are rising for the coronavirus, but hospitalizations are declining. The rate of increase in hospitalizations is declining. And that is seen as a far more significant development because it's a more active current indicator than the lagging one in deaths. Here to explain the phenomena of that and why this might be an encouraging development, not the death part, but the hospitalization part. Dr. Jen Caudle, the family physician, Rowan University Associate Professor. Doctor, good to have you back. Obviously,
Thank you.
Governor Cuomo seized on this hospitalization news as a good sign, a welcoming sign. Can you explain why that would be?
Well, I think anybody would agree, Neil. I mean, it is a good sign. It is a welcoming sign. It is like a little bit of a glimmer of light at hopefully that we're seeing at the end of this tunnel. And I think that is for anyone, whether you're in politics, whether you're at home, whether you're a doctor. This is what we want to see. But what I would also say, and I know Governor Cuomo also indicated this as well, this is not a reason to let up. In fact, the way that I think about this is that this should actually give us more ammunition to continue social distancing and doing the measures we have been, because it's showing that hopefully they're starting to work.
So, Doctor, I know I ask you this question every time I come on, but what would it be to you to ease up on a lockdown, to ease up on these shelter-at-home provisions? What are some of the things that you want to see?
Well, I certainly want to see a lot less illness, a lot fewer deaths, a lot less hospitalizations. In terms of exact numbers, I'm not sure that we have those to give exactly the situation and circumstance. But this is something I do need to say, Neil, is that, when we think about how we came into this pandemic, what were we all saying? We were all saying, and still saying, why didn't we know about this? Why didn't we prepare? We could have done this. We could have done that. And before we start jumping into reintroducing society into society and the world, we need to put that same amount of thought that we don't feel happened for this pandemic into the reopening of society. And I'll be honest with you, I'm not up for a hasty sort of, reentry into society if it's at the expense of lives. Look, we are doing, hopefully, I know we're doing good in terms of our social distancing. People are heeding the warning, I think, more and more every day. But it makes me a little bit anxious, I'll be honest with you, every time we talk about reentry. We all need to reenter society. The economy needs to come back. We are all on the same page. I am too, do not get me wrong. But I am deathly afraid of us either going backwards in all the gains that we've made or, stimulating sort of a second wave of illness, which might be the case anyway. So my point simply is that we have to be very thoughtful, very measured, and we have to be very realistic and put people's lives first. People's lives are first.
No, I like that. Doctor, this was an interesting development to me. I don't know how widespread it is or even if it's super significant, but I want to bounce it off you. South Korea, the latest country to report, many of their recovered coronavirus patients are testing positive. Again, there have been figures in other countries where those who had been treated and came out okay from the coronavirus, got it again. I'm sure it's a small percentage, but I'm thinking about when we do return to normal or whatever it is, to your earlier point, is this something we have to worry about?
So I'm glad that you asked that, and I believe this was asked last night in the press conference, and Dr. Fauci sort of addressed it. Our current understanding and thought process is that once you get coronavirus at this point, you will have some sort of protection going forward. How much and for how long that will last, we're not quite sure at this time, but the general consensus is that you will have some protection. Now, with these reports out of South Korea and other places about reinfection or a second infection, I think we need to be very, very cautious about how these reports are interpreted. I haven't seen the studies myself. I've just seen the reports on the news. Whether someone is considered reinfected or not, that's a very, very specific medical way of thinking about it. I don't know if I explained that right, but the point being is I'm not taking that at face value. And I think Dr. Fauci last night, when he was asked the same question, indicated the same thing. Whether someone is actually reinfected by the lab tests you get and things like that depends on a number of variables that I can't say is the case. So I'm going to hold off sort of saying that they were actually reinfected. I think we need more information about those cases. But, even still, regardless of what tends to be the case or what comes out to be the case is that the social distancing and hand washing and all this stuff is really what we need to be doing. But I'm cautious about those cases, about their interpretation.
I admire that caution. You don't sensationalize or hyperventilate over anything, which is valuable, doctor. And I think our audience particularly appreciates it. Dr. Caudle, good seeing you again.
You too.